So now it's budget time, and I'm going to call upon Frank Dedrick, Diocesan Treasurer. Frank is a leader in this diocese, has been a long time, a true friend. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to begin this morning with grateful support and thanks to the staff of the Bishop's Office for the extremely hard work that they do. I want you to be aware that it's the staff of the Bishop's Office who perform the vast majority of the financial affairs of our diocese. And I want to particularly thank Canon Emer and Elizabeth Jones and Anna Mora and Leanne Wigner for all of the support and all that they do for each of us and for each of our churches. And I particularly want to thank also our Assistant Treasurer, Carol Holly. Carol has worked tirelessly for this diocese in the past and continues to work in the present, and our financial affairs of this diocese are in great shape thanks to all of Carol's hard work. Just as every congregation and parish in our diocese is required to have an annual audit, our diocese too is required to be audited. The 2021 audit report for the diocese is now complete, and the diocese again received a clean audit report of its 2021 financial statements. And if any individual or church would like copies of that audit report, Elizabeth and Anna have those available in the back, or you can request those to be emailed or mailed to you in the future. Prior to the presentation of our 2023 budget, I want you to again be aware of the process that our diocese uses to prepare the diocesan budget to be presented to you. This is a process that involves almost an entire week of meetings with various committees. We first meet with the bishop and canon. We next meet with the budget committee of our diocese, and I want to thank those who served this year on our budget committee and spent a lot of hours in that regard. And I thank Annabelle House, Jared House, Jim Walker, Michael Pullen, Carrie Cabas, Carol Holly, Anna Mora, Elizabeth Jones, Canon Emer, and Bishop Mayer for all the time that they spent. And then our budget was presented to the trustees, and requests were made from the budget committee for the trustees to support our operating budget through the endowments they manage. We next met with the executive council to review it and tweak it and approve it. And so the budget that you're presented today is the budget that was approved by the diocesan executive committee at its meeting in August. So if you'll locate and refer to the financial information that was previously presented to you in your packet, we can begin. The financial information that's provided in your packet are in two forms: a numerical proposed budget and then a narrative budget, which was prepared by Canon Emer, which explains in detail each of the accounts in this budget. So as we begin, the largest support for the diocese comes from your apportionments to our parishes, from our parishes and congregations. This year, our apportionment was $802,000, and next year we are budgeting $819,000. Anna has prepared a schedule that each of you have that lists all the churches in our diocese and has 4 columns on how this apportionment is calculated. Your apportionments for 2023 are calculated based on your 2021 parochial report net operating income, and the executive committee recommends a continued apportionment rate at the rate of 14%. So you can see each of the apportionments for 2023 for each church in our diocese. Apportionment revenue increased by $19,700 from the present year of 2022. We had 19 churches with increased apportionment and 9 churches with decreased apportionment. The next item in our budget is designated investment income, and these are funds which the trustees have approved to be transferred to our general operating account for use in our budget, and they have agreed to support the operating budget with $126,000. We are transferring from our SAID account $76,000. I'm sorry, wrong column, $117,000. This represents surplus funds from prior years, and this is an amount that we had to use this year from SAID reserves in order to balance this year's or next year's budget, $117,000. From our trustees account, they have approved the distribution from the endowments to the general operating fund of $42,100, and this will be utilized $6,600 from the diocese maintenance fund to offset maintenance for the bishop's office at Halsey Center, $33,000 from the Seaman Hall operating fund to support the Canterbury ministry at Texas Tech, and $2,000 from the educational fund to support clergy continuing education. We're also receiving from the Episcopal Church in North Texas, formerly the Diocese of Fort Worth, to reimburse our diocese for the time that Bishop Mayer spends with that diocese in its transition to the Diocese of Texas, and are budgeting $90,000 in reimbursements in that category. And then we have a contingency reserve of $10,000 in case there are any churches that are unable to pay their apportionment next year. In diocesan outreach, we continue to give $6,000 in donations to our companion diocese, the Dominican Republic, and we support the Seminary of the Southwest and the University of South with $500 each. Next, our mission churches property and liability insurance. The diocese owns each of the mission properties and keeps those properties insured, with each mission church then reimbursing the diocese for 50% of those premiums. And so those are indicated here with a 10% increase estimated for casualty and property insurance increases next year. The financial support to our mission churches, the diocese also provides some financial support to our mission churches and also provides websites for the mission churches. And we have one a fund held by the trustees that reimburses us for a portion of All Saints Colorado City's financial support. So the total support financial support to our mission churches is $11,000. Our support to our college ministries, Texas Tech, the Canterbury mission, it was requested by Leanne this year that we increase that support by $5,000, and I'm pleased that the Executive Council immediately and quickly approved a $5,000 increase to her budget to support Texas Tech. And then we support the United Campus Ministry in San Angelo with $4,000 there. Our next category is our diocesan missionary staff, Father Ricardo Lopez and Leanne Wigner. And with Father Lopez, we've had many changes there this year. As you know, for this current year, Father Lopez served as priest in charge of Odessa's 3 churches and also served as a chaplain of St. John's School. And so in 2022, St. John's and St. Barnabas and the diocese basically shared equally in his salary and benefits. But with the approval of the reunification of St. John's and San Miguel, beginning on January 1st of 2023, Father Lopez will now become the rector of the reunified St. John's Episcopal Church and will now be paid by St. John's rather than the diocese. Father Lopez will continue to serve St. Barnabas and St. Barnabas will then reimburse St. John's for its share of Father Lopez's salary and benefits. The diocese will continue to support the Hispanic ministry in Odessa and will then reimburse St. John's for its support of this model ministry. So in our 2023 proposed budget, you'll see that the diocese will reimburse St. John's in the amount of $38,000, which is held in a SAID account, and will offset the diocese and $5,000 held in a SAID account will help offset this expense. So the net cost to the diocese in 2023 for its operating budget will be $33,000. Our Texas Tech chaplain, Leanne Wigner, as with all diocesan employees, the Executive Council and all the other committees are recommending that the staff of the bishop's office have a 4.25% increase in salary next year for a cost of living increase. We are also with, Leanne will receive that increase as a bishop's office staff position, and we have changed the format somewhat this year in that we are now budgeting Leanne's full salary in this category, and she also serves as the Director of Communication for our diocese, so we are taking $21,000 from the Texas Tech chaplaincy program and transferring that to diocesan communications to better illustrate that in our budget. The Commission on Ministry for diocesan meetings, we're increasing $25,000 such that that will be $10,000 next year, and the increase is due to the fact that we anticipate more in-person meetings next year. And then we have travel for our archdeacon, the Diocesan Clergy Fund, which helps clergy during the first 2 years of their ordained ministry in our diocese. Dues, education for lay ministry of $2,750, which funds a contract through the School of Theology at the University of the South that we utilize, and then funds to offset some of the expenses for individuals pursuing ordination are contained in the postulates and candidates expenses. Diocesan communication, we're budgeting $7,800 for communication, which is website and newsletters, and then the 20% of Leanne's salary and benefits, $21,000 allocated to this category, also as our diocesan communication director. Ministry development funds available. We're budgeting $2,500 for funds available for consultants to work with our diocesan church where needed. Our Fresh Start program is for clergy new to our diocese or new to different positions within our diocese and help support them in their ministry. And then the School of Ordained Ministry, we're budgeting $14,000 next year, and this is a program through the Seminary of the Southwest that produces our curricula, which we use, and we pay an annual fee for that. Our diocesan youth ministry and safeguarding. For our youth events, we budget $2,500. We're recommending budgeting $2,500 for youth events during the course of the year. For summer camp fees, we anticipate receiving fees from our campers of $17,500 up from last year. Summer camp expenses to be $55,000. We anticipate receiving donations from various churches and individuals to support our youth camp, and we estimate $10,000 there. And then the salary and benefits for Renee Haney, our youth director, and her benefits there. And that category then totals $46,000. In other ministries, medical insurance for retired persons, we do not have a budget item for that this year, as the church pension fund has now taken over the insurance for retired persons. and we still continue to have group life insurance available for certain retired budget persons in our diocese of $2,500. The 6,000 category is our shared life in the larger church. The major item here is support for the national church. These contributions are like our apportionment, and our support then helps offset the expenses for the offices of the National Episcopal Church and for our General Convention. And the payment of this is derived by formula as our apportionment is, and they take our diocese's net operating income. We have a $200,000 exemption, and then we're assessed a 15% sum based on that calculation. So we saw a decrease in that support because the exemption amount was increased from $140,000 to $200,000. And then expenses for our trustees to attend University of the South meetings, ecumenical and faith relations of $1,800. We accrue annually funds for our bishop and deputies to go to General Convention each year and accrue those in the SAID accounts and then disperse from SAID for the actual payments of those every 3 years. We also accrue funds for the bishop to attend the Lambeth Conference in England, and accruing $1,200 each year, and that conference occurs every 10 years normally. And then assessments from our synod of $1,500, and we don't have representatives anymore attending any synod meetings because those are now held online. The next item and the largest item in the budget is the episcopate and other support for mission. These are the salaries of our bishop, canon, diocesan administrator, and finance manager. As noted previously, the Executive Council has recommended a 4.25% salary increase for all the bishop's office staff, and those increases are indicated here and the incorporated increases that will occur because of SECA, pension. We also are budgeting medical insurance increases for next year anticipated to be around 10%. And so these are all contained in the episcopate and other support for mission. And the total of this next year is $587,500. Our Hulsey Center meeting and travel and continue education. This category handles the bishop's meetings and travels in the amount of $32,000. Our canon's meetings and travels expense of $12,000, and travel expenses for our finance manager and diocesan administrator totaling $49,600. The Episcopate Transition Fund is an accumulation in SAID each year to help defray the cost of a search process for a new bishop and consecrate him or her when that time occurs. And we have been accruing $1,000 per year into SAID for that amount. The next category is the Hulsey Episcopal Center expenses. These are just operating cost of the Hulsey Center and include cleaning, lawn care, computers, hospitality, maintenance, postage, telephone, the normal utilities and those items. And we're budgeting $52,000, a $2,000 increase over last year due to an increase in yard care expenses. And then the last category is insurance, accounting, and legal expenses. Our accounting services for diocesan finances is increased slightly to $45,000. We have our annual audit at $10,000. Diocesan property and liability insurance estimated at $9,000, a 10% increase over the prior year, and then payroll services, workers' comp, and some legal fees for a total of $67,000. And so our budget is presented as a balanced budget with revenues of $1,195,700 and expenses of $1,195,000, a balanced budget. And at this time, we'd like to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions, comments, or anything about our proposed